Welcome to Film on Tape, a free audio library for creatives in film and television. My name is Misha Calvert, and I've worked as an actor, writer, director, and producer for many decades. I had so many questions when I was first getting started in New York, and I just wanted fast, free answers. That is what this library is for. The work that you do as a creative is so important. I really hope that this library is going to help get your work out there. Film on Tape is sponsored by Vermilion, a coaching and educational company for creatives. You can learn more at clubvermilion.com. This episode is for everyone who wants to sell a series. I have sold 2 short-form series. I was attempting for 7 years to sell a long-form series, and by long-form, that means 30 minutes or 1 hour. Short-form could be anything, but there's a lot of platforms now that take either short-form or long-form content or both. So while I was trying to sell a long-form series to, you name a network that you can think of, all the ones that you probably have subscriptions to, I was pitching to all of them. While I was doing all that, I sold 2 short-form series that I made. So I can speak to the process of pitching a long-form series and what that's like, and also actually closing the deal on a short-form series. My first piece of advice for trying to sell a series is to find a way to not need to sell a series. My lawyer likes to speak about negotiations in terms of whoever needs the deal the most is going to lose that negotiation. So if you need the deal to go through, you've already lost. This was, as it happens, the exact mindset that I was in for both of the shows that I did end up selling. I did not need the deal. In both cases, I kind of didn't even want the deal. I was looking for a different deal with a different network. And ultimately, I'm very glad that those deals happened, but I didn't need them. And that kind of leverage is incredibly useful in the pitching process, which is extremely stressful. We pitch all the time in life. We pitch for jobs that we want. We pitch for dates that we want. Sometimes you're even just pitching to your family for what to have for dinner. So I don't want to make it seem like pitching is the be-all, end-all. We're doing it all the time. But there's this peculiar thing that starts to happen when you conflate pitching and your Hollywood dreams. And it takes on this whole mythic proportion that just can really damage the quality of the pitch itself. So imagine that all of that evaporates and you don't care about the outcome of the pitch. You're more relaxed, you're funnier, you're probably more composed, more charming. You can focus more on the other person. You can listen better. You're not going to be so stressed out, so you're not going to be forgetting things. You're not going to be hard on yourself if you look at your notes. So I think in general, you're just going to do better if you can find a way to trick yourself if you have to, but also if there's a way to, for real, not need the deal. That is the best case scenario for going into a pitch. Also, this is kind of a hot take, but I don't coach people to rely on the industry for money. I think it is folly to rely on film and TV for money. Now, the industry has changed quite a bit. I don't know if I would have said that 5 years ago, but I am saying it now. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being a creative. I think it's fantastic. But I think that there's so much instability in film and television right now that it's tough to expect film and TV to pay you a living wage, even if you are extremely good at what you do. I think no matter what you do in life, if you are world class, if you're in the top 1% of what you do, you will always be able to be paid for your work. But most of us statistically are not in the top 1%. And based on the instability and the contractions of the industry right now, the necessary contractions of this rapidly changing media ecosystem, I think relying on it for money is misguided. And by the way, that is not advocating for being paid poorly for the work that you do. I think if you are hired for a job, you should be paid well. You should be paid according to market rates and hopefully even a little better because you're a creative. But as the industry is shifting, we're seeing the value of our work change and the way that we are compensated for our work start to change. If anyone remembers not too long ago with the writer strikes and the whole conversation around residuals, that's changed so much. And now, of course, money is valuable, but platform is also incredibly valuable. How many people know who you are subscribing to your stuff, following you? And I'm not saying that this is the only metric, but if you have an audience in place that you have built, that is valuable. That's going to tie into something I want to talk about later in terms of what deals you should and should not take. But just something to think about throughout this conversation of how money factors into all this and how there's more to it than money, that you can be getting something out of it other than money. And if you're relying on the industry for money, you might become bitter these days. There is an old saying, decades old now, in Hollywood about being a screenwriter. You can make a fortune as a screenwriter, but you can't make a living. And I think that in some ways has become true now of other professions, because when you get paid for a job as a screenwriter, you get paid sometimes extraordinary figures, just like sometimes 7-figure deals for your script, right? And yet it can be long stretches of time before you're hired again, just because of the nature of the work and that there's usually 1, maybe 2 writers per script. Of course, they hire on, if you're at the larger budgets, they can fire and hire writers a lot. But generally speaking, at the indie level where I am, there's only 1 writer per script. Another thing that you don't want to rely on the industry for is validation. And you certainly do not want to rely on that pitch meeting for validation. That is a very dangerous game. And the more you can know your worth and know what you're bringing to the table and know how special and extraordinary you are before the meeting, and not like fake know it, but, like really actually know it, the better that meeting is going to go. Ideally, you have other projects lined up at other places so that you're really actually, really not relying on that meeting for validation or for your ability to create, your ability to do work, that you have outlets, you have other pots boiling so that you can walk out of that meeting and focus immediately on the next project that you're already working on that you're really excited about. In fact, I have found that the meetings that I've done that have gone the best have gone, well, this is a little edgy, when I was kind of looking down on the meeting a little bit. Up to a point. There was one meeting early on for a pretty major TV network. Actually, it was my first pitch meeting, and I didn't really care about the meeting. I didn't see the value of the network, and it went very badly. I think I actually scared him. I think he was like, is this girl demonic? Like she's so unfriendly. I was a little bit maybe just nervous to be in like a big network building, but also I just didn't at that point know how to be professional. And it's really important to be a professional in all professional environments. Now I would say I'm professional 99% of the time. And for film and TV, that is good. Many people lose their cool and they are overly emotional, or they are egotistical, or they let little snittiness slip through the cracks. None of that. Don't allow it. But also, if you can, deep down inside you a little bit, know that you're cooler than whatever meeting is happening, that's probably going to help your nerves. Now, I don't know if other people would counsel you in this way. I'm just being honest and being real about, like, if you're going to participate in the hierarchy game of a conversation, you better be on the top of that hierarchy because it sucks being on the bottom. You can also bypass the hierarchy entirely. That's actually probably better if you're on equal footing with the person that you're meeting. But the problem is most creatives go into these pitch meetings in the hierarchy game knowing that they're either got to look up or look down, and chances are they are looking up. They are looking up at someone that they perceive to be more powerful than them, and that is a terrible way to go into a meeting. So I think if you're going to be hierarchical, try to look down. I am so excited to tell you that I'm launching a brand new slate of classes that are incredibly helpful on my website. Some of the classes include on-camera acting technique and how to self-produce your own film, actor self-care, which is something that nobody talks about, and how to write a feature film in 10 days, which I'm going to teach you how I did it and how you can do it too. And believe me when I say I poured my heart into these courses. Go to clubvermillion.com. I am so excited about this website. I can't wait to work with you. Okay, so just to recap, the number one advice I have for trying to sell a series is to not actually need to sell that series, to not need the money that it could potentially bring you, and to not need the validation, to certainly not need it as a creative outlet. Why? Because you are already a prolific creator, and I know that you're going to go out and you're going to create regardless of how that meeting goes. Number two piece of advice for selling a series is you have to know that show inside and out. You have to be the number one worldwide expert on that show. You need to know everything about it because they may ask you everything. And depending on the size of the meeting, most first meetings are not going to get into detail, but they may. And you definitely don't want to look like you haven't thought about it because if you look like you don't care about your own show, they are very quickly going to lose interest. You need to look like a total geek, nerd, obsessive about the world of this show. And you're like an encyclopedia for the show. Executives want to feel like any question that they could ask you, you're going to have the answer to about this series. And then you also have to be excited. You have to be so excited about this show because these people are hungry for excitement. I know executives who are not like this as well. So I just want to caveat, I know some very amazing, creative, extraordinary, imaginative executives. And then the rest of them are boring as hell. So remember, they love the business, but they don't have the stomach to be a creative. They don't have the stomach for risk. When times get bad, they don't like that. They can't handle it. They want the nice even keel, steady as she goes, steady paycheck. So what do you have that's different than that? You have passion. The passion that it takes to weather those storms when you don't have that steady paycheck. Your passion has to be so great that it takes you through deeply uncomfortable periods of life where you have no certainty. You may not even have any income at all coming in. You may be, on a downswing. Your agent drops you or whatever. Your show flops. You have to have passion that's going to get you through all of that. And if you can have that passion and keep it and really connect to it in an authentic way on command, your pitches are going to go well. It's a gift. Your excitement is a gift to the executive and it's a gift to the meeting. So number two, know the show inside out and please be excited. Be really obsessive and excited about this show that you have created. Number three piece of advice, you're going to want a pitch deck of some kind. It could be a 1-sheet, a 2-sheet, a 20-page deck, a video deck, a website deck, something that is going to communicate the world of the show. And they may tell you what format they want. You can ask, unless it feels like it's really inappropriate to ask. Most of the time, just say, hey, what materials can I send over for you? And they'll tell you. Usually executives are pretty transparent and pretty direct, which I like. They're like, oh, yeah, send over if you have a treatment, if you have a 1-sheeter, or, your pitch deck, like they'll just name it. And then if you don't have it yet, please take that time, that next 24 hours to make it, and then send it around to a couple of people you trust, get some notes, and send it off to the executive within 48 hours of their request. In addition to the pitch deck, which should be mostly pictures, by the way, strong image-led pitch deck, please. The treatment, obviously, it's words. Vast majority is words. And that treatment could be 10 pages to 40 pages for season 1. You're also going to need a logline. The logline needs to be great. So start now on the logline and test it, refine it. It's like a haiku. It's hard. It's almost harder than the script because it needs to be perfect. Sorry, I don't want to scare you with the word perfect, but as close as you can get to, it's like an Excel formula. Like, you don't want to miss a single parentheses or plus sign in the wrong place, or else the whole thing doesn't work. So you really just, each word is so critical because there's so few words in a log line. You really want to capture what is driving, what is the engine of this show. Understand engine, please look it up if you don't know what that is. I may do an episode on engine, but they're going to be listening for the engine in the pitch, and the log line needs to refer to that in some way. Verbally, you're going to want a 30-second pitch, a 1 minute, a 3 minute. I say a 5 and a 10 minute. And then if you're pitching long form, by then you'll probably have an agent or a manager helping to secure these meetings. But a 30 to 40 minute pitch for a major network for a long form show. So materials, you want the pitch deck, logline, treatment, and then the different lengths of pitch. If you've shot it, make sure you have a trailer. But the footage that you've already shot of this series, like if you have a completed series, that's a little bit of a different kind of pitch meeting, but that's selling to acquisition versus development. Just make sure that the footage looks great and that the show looks great. Ideally, it's edited well, you've got great color on it. A trailer certainly helps. So often we'll watch a trailer before deciding if they want to watch the full thing. So these are the materials that I recommend before you go into a pitch. How to get these meetings? Great question. So cold calling works. It works. I have sold a show off of a cold meeting. I've also, the furthest that I got with a network on a long form series, the BBC, was a cold email. Ice cold. And I just charmed them, and I had a great idea and a pretty good script. So I am constantly amazed at how many problems in life are solved by a simple mass email campaign. And pitching is no different. And I'm not talking like, MailChimp or whatever, but hand emailing a large number of people and either asking them for something or letting them know something. It is shocking to me how few people actually take the time to personally email, say, 500 individuals. It is so effective. So I really recommend putting together a list of the places that you think that you could pitch to effectively that are within reach. And if you're female, please aim 1 to 2 levels higher. Women tend to undersell themselves in terms of where they could land. And then start emailing. And if they don't respond to your email, you can call to follow up. The other thing that works is referrals. Referrals are probably 100 times more effective than cold calls. So cold calls work. If that's all you got, do it. But if you have even one person who can connect you to an executive, please take the referral. And even if you have to be sending the email in the subject line, referred by Jane Campion, I don't know. That is a great email, and that is far more likely to be opened than the cold email. So cold emails really work for folks who are either hungry, very energized, or curious. and have time on their hands. The referrals, however, that's automatically making them accountable, because then Jane Campion might text and say, hey, did you get that email from Jody? And why didn't you respond to it yet? Jane Campion's clearly very bullish on your talent. So referrals are great. You can ask people for referrals. Don't expect a yes. That's the only caveat. So if you're asking friends to hook you up with a meeting somewhere, let's say, at Netflix or something, and they're like, no, I'm not really comfortable, just say okay and be okay with them not being comfortable. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They may or may not be able to make that referral at the time. All right, so let's say that you do sell your series. You sell your series to the network, either at the script level and they want to pay you to develop it, or you've made it already and they want to acquire it and distribute it on their network. Congratulations. This is so exciting. For the love of God, make sure you get them the deliverables on time with a professional, polite attitude, and make sure that you are good with the contract. Just because you get a yes from the executives and they want the deal, you still need to close the deal, like sign that deal and then honor that contract. Because I know people who have gotten a deal and then they've lost the deal. So I really don't want that to be you. It's so painful. It's so humiliating. I've never said this publicly before. I almost lost both of the deals that I got selling my series. Now, granted, I did not have an agent or manager helping me negotiate. So this is me flying by the seat of my pants. Yes, I had a lawyer. To be honest, we got a little caught up in the weeds on legal. And, the thing about contracts is at a certain level, like at the indie level, the not Netflix level, the not HBO Max level, I think you are going to be sometimes dealing with folks who you may not have their full attention. They're busy. They're overextended. And you may not, because of, at the more median level streamers, you may not have somebody who has a lot of time or attention either. So it can feel a little uncomfortable trying to get over the line contract-wise when you don't have like someone, power agent, really dedicated, really devoted, this is their top priority. That's probably not going to be the case. And you probably won't be the top priority for whatever executive at the network that you're talking to. So the creative is put in this really interesting position of having to kind of be a peacemaker and, keeping the train running smoothly while also advocating for the things that you need. And every contract's different. Every deal is different. I think it's just important to identify the things that are deal breakers for you. Like, I will absolutely not be able to go forward with this deal if ABC is not met, versus the nice to haves. And then just be really bullish on the need to haves and be willing to let go with the nice to haves. I think for the most part, especially at the median streamers and the median outlets that are not, huge household names, any deal is still probably better than no deal. Obviously, this is case by case. Please don't take this as legal advice. It is not. It is just in my experience. If you can get on a platform, that is instant credibility. That's instant eyeballs. You're building reach, you're building audience, you're building a platform, and you may not be making any money. One of the series that I sold, there was no payout for me. The other one, very minor. So I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the platform, for the reach, for the experience, and for the credibility, and for the I did it for the press. Because you can then, if you get onto a network, you can send out a press release and start to get some articles written about you. Press is very helpful for increasing your profile as a filmmaker, as an artist. When you start to collaborate with companies and businesses who've built something and have a name, it's really good for you, generally speaking. I mean, it can be stressful, but try to make the deal go through if you can. That being said, I'm going to bring it all the way back around to point number 1, which is the deal is not the be-all, end-all. You can create other opportunities for deals later in your career, and remember your worth. Remember the beautiful, exquisite world that you've created in this series, that you are uniquely suited to bring to life. And don't forget that Breaking Bad was rejected, I think, 40 times when they were pitching, and, went on to become one of the most successful TV shows of all time. So just because it doesn't sell the first, second, 10th, or 40th pitch, do not give up. There's something there, and if you're excited about it, then other people will be too. Good luck, and I cannot wait to see your show when it hits the air. Thank you so much for listening to Film on Tape. If you like the way that I approach the industry, check out our other classes, consulting, and mentorship at clubvermilion.com. Vermilion is a home for artists and those looking to expand creatively. Whether you're an actor, a film professional, an entrepreneur, or a CEO, we'll help you find your voice and hone your skills to thrive in any market at any scale. You can schedule a free phone consultation at clubvermilion.com.